All right, everybody, it is Thursday, September 9th, my favorite day of the year, 9/9. This is this is Microsoft Office Hours. I am Heather Cox. With me today are my wonderful co-hosts.
Hey everybody, Stephanie here.
Hello, I'm Victoria.
And our
Oh,
consigliere.
yes, our consigliere who copies. He's the copy and paste master of MS Office Hours, dear Steve Lane.
Control C, Control V. That's what I do.
And Jill, we'll let you do your own intros. We're going to go on mute, turn our cameras off, and the floor is entirely yours.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I think I'm now going to be joining office hours every single time because the shenanigans are awesome. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. Everybody, hello, welcome. My name is Jill Sitnick. I'm Education Industry Executive. I technically cover the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic part of the country, but I also run a training program that is nationwide. And when Heather put the all call out, I was like, I can talk about all the different training resources Microsoft has and put them in one big web page for folks. And I know that when I was in my district as an IT lead, I had to deal with folks who were super basic, you know, how do you work a mouse versus my technicians and trying to find some professional development for them. So that's the goal for today. I'm going to give you about 5 hours of content in like a half an hour. And so because of that, I threw my email address in there. You can find me on LinkedIn, shoot me an email. I also threw the sway in there that I'm going to be working on today. And I was a teacher for 10 years, so I should be good on time. But Heather and crew, when do you want me to be wrapping up? Like 10 minutes? 10 minutes,
let's
the hour?
Yeah, let's leave 10 to 5. That'll be fine.
Okay. All right. So then with that, let's see if my bandwidth can handle me being on video and sharing my screen. I'm going to see. Let's everybody cross your fingers and do a happy dance. Let's see if it works. There's a rumor that if you sometimes use your second monitor, that it can if you take off your second monitor, it can also help. So I'm doing that. So let's see what happens. All right. So the sway is super simple, basic. And if anybody from the Microsoft team says, hey, we should be adding XYZ, shoot me that and I'll go ahead and make additions. I just kind of wanted to deal with the basics. And so what I did was I started from basic user because all of us on this call are in some way, shape or form. There are people who are not on mute. I don't know if Microsoft team, if you can deal with that. Every single one of us in this call at some point is dealing with your basic users. So I started off with staff and faculty, and the quick starts are great ways for people who are like, I need something written down, I need something on paper, or I just need to know about how to get started, and then I can figure stuff out. So this quick start page, when I show this to professional development groups, or when I show this to change management groups, they kind of love it. So feel free, grab these. I always say to folks, do not reinvent the wheel. Check out what we have going first before you make stuff specifically for your organization. Then secondly, again, your basic user, not your educator, your person who's like, how do I sort rows in Excel? How do I create a new slide in PowerPoint? Those basic office questions. Our 365 training page is the place to go. And you can see right there, those are the most asked for things. I think on average, I get asked about OneDrive probably 1 out of 5 times in terms of requests that I get. And so when you jump into any of these sessions, you've got your quick start, you've got all your different topics. And even when you get into the different topics, there's a variety of modalities. So you've got video, you've got overview, you've got some text. Lots of different ways to go. And again, what I tell people is don't reinvent the wheel. If you know your faculty staff just needs X, Y, Z, and you don't want to overwhelm them, grab the links from these pages. Even better, what we also have is something called M365 Learning Pathways. I don't think this is new to this group. I believe this group had a session on it at some point. It's basically a SharePoint site that IT administrators are able to provision in your 365 tenant. I did it to my tenant. It took about all of 15 minutes. And here it's a regular SharePoint site, so you can use your block editor and design the page however you want. The magic is that the pathway site points back to, oh, let me go back here for a second. It points back to this particular 365 training page that Microsoft keeps updated. So you get to create an internal training page if you'd like that is constantly updated with the basics, and then you can supplement with what exactly your particular stakeholders need. And if you're like, hey, that sounds kind of interesting. Jill said it only took 15 minutes, but I don't believe her because she's a Microsoftie. I understand. I know it. I feel it. I got it. This right here is the YouTube video tutorial. We took care of you. You're all good. Check it out. See if you like it, and feel free. Ask us questions if you want to go ahead and provision. And I think any of us on this call can do a super fast block editing SharePoint Online little tutorial for you. If I can edit SharePoint Online, anybody can, trust me. So that's your staff faculty basics. And then when we talk about your educator resources, we have to, of course, talk about the Educator Center. And the particular link in this way that I used for the Educator Center takes us directly to the benefits in the classroom. There's lots of different ways to move around and navigate in the Educator Center, lots of different topics. I would say to you, it's not the place to go for how do I add a slide to PowerPoint. It's the place to go to say, how can I use PowerPoint to engage student learners better? That's kind of the difference. This site is directed specifically to the educator, higher ed, and K-12. I know initially a couple years ago, you looked at the Educator Center and you're like, this is all K-12. Actually, Microsoft has put a lot of investment into both sides of the educational coin there, and so there's tons of content. Now, for our K-12 folks, a little bit more focused, if you're looking and you're saying, hey, I need to kind of create, I need some help, maybe my younger teachers, maybe my folks who are getting a little bit technology integration started. We have these teacher packs because the Educator Center can be kind of big, and so we collated for you different courses that would apply. And remember, every single one of these courses offers a little badge. And so in your district and or your university, if you need to somehow prove, if stakeholders have to somehow prove that they are taking technology enhancement courses, we get the badges. They can be used in any sort of learning portfolio for folks to prove that they're learning more skills. So I always throw these teacher training packs at folks because usually people kind of forget that they exist. And if you're like, hey, Jill, we'd kind of like to have a different path, what would you suggest? Reach out, let me know. My team is an expert on the Educator Center, and if I don't have an answer, we can get an answer for you. So don't hesitate to reach out for that. Now, I'm going off the reservation. Microsoft is on this call. Relax, take a deep breath. I'm going off the reservation. I found this website. This is not a Microsoft resource, but oh my gosh. If you have any questions about anything Microsoft education with a little bit more of a techie bent, this is the place to go. So I throw this in here. I think these are great people who have done me a whole lot of time saving in collecting different links. So, you know, don't tell anybody that it's somebody else's link. It's all good. Although I guess this is recorded, so the cat's out of the box. All right, now this link right here is the magic link. I'm based out in Pennsylvania. I have a big giant consortia, and sometimes my customers in the consortia are working with different folks in Microsoft who their contracts end, and my customers aren't sure who to get in touch with. You folks as education customers have this special place to go. This content right here, and I think if you click, I have to find it, somewhere in here when you actually start clicking in, when you are tools, help you, you know what, I should have looked, find OneNote answers. In this particular page, I don't want to take a whole lot of time, you can actually ask Microsoft support for assistance. This is actually always where I send people. This is the generic link. I will find, actually, Microsofties who are on this call, can you check out this link and give me the specific URL for the spot to ask questions so that I don't break the flow here? It is in here. Usually education tenant folks have different questions than enterprise because your tenant has different software. So this is a place to bookmark and keep, and I'm assuming way smarter people in the chat are going to help me with that particular link. Now, if you are looking for events and webinars, our store group, I know it's like, well, I thought Microsoft closed their stores. Well, we're still calling them the stores, even though I think that might change pretty soon. We have a whole cadre of experts who are delivering virtual content, and there is just so much choice in here. Student content, educator content, IT content. I really encourage you, go ahead, take 5 minutes, do an overview to get an idea of just the vast range of content that this particular virtual offering site gives. And I think they even record some of their offerings so that you can kind of see them later on. This is kind of the mix between, we can't really force a lot of the higher eds. We can't force our faculty to take courses, but we know they have interest in XYZ. Here's a great way to provide them synchronous virtual training. So I always like to throw that in there. It's a wealth of content. It really, really is. And then for anybody on the group that is like, you know what, I went to that Educator Center a couple of years ago, and I don't know if I trust Jill, it really was K-12. Boom, I went ahead and I specifically bookmarked for you Microsoft Teams University. There has been a ton of investment in making sure that our higher ed friends weren't left off the Microsoft Educator Center bandwagon. So feel free to take a look at that. I don't know if people realize how many higher ed people from industry Microsoft has been hiring. I was one of the K-12 ones. I can easily look around the EDU space and the product manager space and say guaranteed people came from higher ed and were using their expertise. So I wanted to make sure I threw that in there too. So I'm not necessarily halfway through, but I'm trucking really well. How am I doing in terms of time? Ladies, are there any burning questions that we need to stop for, or should I just keep going?
You're doing great. We've got about 12 minutes remaining, and I think folks are just giving positive feedback, so no questions yet.
Okay. This one's really fun. I love this one. See where it says interactive guides? Our marketing people have been busy, busy, busy. Here's the deal. If you're in a situation and you're like, I have to show this faculty member Teams doing XYZ, or I want to go talk to the career folks about this new awesome thing Microsoft has, Career Coach. How do I do that without setting up a meeting and it seems like a sales call and da-da-da-da? Here's your solution. There are a whole bunch of click-through demos. So it doesn't matter which one you go through. I tend to like, where's the, you know what, we're all educators. Let's click on the educator demo one. And what you see is what the actual title is, the features that are highlighted, and literally all you do is click and it goes into the demo. Now, I'm, of course, trying to do probably too much with my limited bandwidth and my machine, but this is literally what it does. The URL does not change. Unfortunately, you're not able to just send one particular demo to folks. Trust me, I've complained. I've got your back. So what you want to do when you're using these particular resources is just, and you'll notice it is literally just a web page, just make sure you direct people to exactly where they need to go, because I think you can see this is pretty rich in terms of the stakeholders that it addresses, the different topics that it addresses. And I know, look, 1, 2, 3. I know I got a little bit lost. I had to personally make a little bit of a cheat sheet so I can kind of access it quickly. And I'm free to share the cheat sheet if you want. I literally just wrote everything out. But this is a great way, without you having to be an expert, without having to pull a Microsoftie in, for you to just show and take a look at the different software options that are out there. It's kind of like the least risk kind of way of checking out software, because you can't break anything. It's just a click-through demo. So I love that, and I always have to show that. And then the technical staff, And I don't know if I'm going to hear anything about it. You're like, Jill, you only listed one link. I gotcha. Check out Microsoft Learn. Now, the homepage of Microsoft Learn, if you want an A+, think in your head, what do you think that Learn symbol means? It means a subway station or a subway map, because the whole point of Learn is that you get to go in the destination that you want to go. I'd be curious to know how many people knew that, because I looked at that symbol for about 8 months and had no idea. But Learn is where all of our curricular content is landing and will be landing. And so here's the magic. Get ready. Click on roles. And suddenly you now see why I talked about being able to, with the other sites that I showed you, being able to teach the basics, and with this site, addressing the needs of your technical staff that need more advanced professional development. So all you do is you sign in, create a free little account so that you can track your progress, so that you can know what portions of the courses that you've taken. Trust me, it's a huge advantage when you're looking through the course and you've got about 9 hours of content and you see that you've done 4 hours. You're like, yay, I can make it. So administrators, data folks, developers, the content here primarily is for the ultimate goal of getting folks certified. So sometimes in these courses, I mean, you've just got the basic content, read this, understand it, you're good to go. But other courses actually have Azure sandboxes, so you can get your hands dirty and you don't have to worry about setting up any sort of Azure. I will also say, and I know we're being recorded, but I'm willing to go out on a limb. Sometimes what I do, I like to have the content kind of explained to me. I check out Learn and I go to Udemy, and I might spend like, I don't know, $9, $14 to kind of have somebody talk through some of these content. And honestly, I've breezed through my certification exams that we've had to do in Microsoft. There are 2 things I want to point out here. We have a student area, and the student area is definitely a place that if you've got computer science folks who kind of want to think about supplementing their curriculums with, just some interesting stuff for students. We do have a GitHub place just for classes and for students. That's pretty cool. And then I also want to point out, we also have Microsoft Learn for educators, where we specifically have curriculum for AI fundamentals, Azure fundamentals, Power Platform fundamentals, and the other one I think is called data. Do not quote me on those names, but there are basically 4. All you do as a university, anybody with an EDU address signs up, you get access to that curriculum, and then feel free to reach out to any one of us if you have any questions about how to kind of move forward with that curriculum. But the Microsoft Learn for Educators is a super rich site for how you go about starting to teach cloud technologies, because a lot of us are in a situation where it would be brand new content to learn how to teach it. And again, why reinvent the wheel? Take a look at what we have and then go ahead and make it your own. And I'm at 4:43, and so I'm trucking along pretty well. So the additional resources, I'm giving you options, because one of the things that adults love the most is let me do it my way. That's my own personal thing. Let me do it my way. So I'm giving you a couple of options. I've given you a whole bunch of asynchronous, on-demand opportunities for training that you can use however you want. If you decide at some point that you're like, oh, I don't want to do that, hold on. If you decide at some point that you're like, you know what, I'd like to bring somebody in, maybe my faculty will listen to that person versus me. I know sometimes I had to use that trick. We have a whole slew of training partners, and feel free to reach out to me. I can tell you kind of the core competencies of which training partners to use. So we have a whole group of folks that have been vetted, and I vet to make sure that they are capable of delivering what they want to deliver. We also have a whole other set of learning partners if you're looking for like a dynamics rollout, something a little bit more intense than your normal educator would deal with. So I can also help you with that. But I didn't put it here because we're kind of focusing on educators. Now, one of the other things, there we go. One of the other things you can think about is a training bot, that if you want to take the time and go ahead and create a Q&A bot for your most asked questions, it can really save time in the end. You throw it right in Teams. Again, I was able to do it. I had a cheat sheet of about 140 questions that I uploaded from an Excel spreadsheet. But once you get that kind of stuff done and you personalize it for your institution, it can be super, super helpful, and it doesn't eat up a lot of Azure at all. I mean, there is an Azure backend spend, but it's nothing like a person answering questions. Then one of the things I've seen a lot of people do is, you know what, my professors are creating content to help other people. My instructional technologist is creating content. I'm finding great YouTube videos. How can I put all that together? Well, I talked to you about that Learning Pathways SharePoint site. That would be my first suggestion, to be candid. And the second suggestion is go ahead and create your own internal training Microsoft Stream channel, because then you're not putting stuff out on YouTube and your professors don't have to worry about, all the different internet trolls that are out there and things of that sort. And I've had people say, oh, I should really think about Stream a little bit more strategically. I'm just kind of surprised, I guess, because I've always been in the training space, but I've had people say to me, I never really thought of using Stream internally as a tool. So I throw it in there as an option. Then another thing you can think about is if you have a LinkedIn Learning subscription. I'm not selling you LinkedIn Learning. I'm just telling you, if you have a LinkedIn Learning subscription, they will work for you and they will collate for you learning paths. So again, I'm in Pennsylvania. Penn State was one of my customers, and that's exactly what they did. When they basically went to LinkedIn and said, we want some learning paths. If a professor says, I want to learn Sway, boom, here's the learning path. The professor doesn't have to do the internet search, wander around. Is this a good video? Is that a good video? So I throw Penn State, with their permission, they know I do this, I throw Penn State's link in there for you to go ahead and cheat, copy, see what they're doing. If you have a subscription, use those folks to help you craft the learning experience for your particular stakeholders. And then the question I'm always asked is, how do I reward either the folks who are training or the end users? The Microsoft Swag site might be the dorkiest and yet the most fun site that's out there. You can buy things in bulk, because I know how people go crazy over, water bottles and, oh my gosh, look at me with my Microsoft pen. So if you're in a situation, please don't email me or Heather for swag. There's a whole bit of drama in Microsoft as to why we can't do that. But if you're looking for it, this is a great site to go to. And with that, I just came in 2 minutes early. Look at that. 2 minutes early.
What a great job. It's like you've done this before.
That is that's classic teacher. That's the best part. Is I could hear in the way that every teacher knows, you have start, finish, go, and I love it. I love it.
Awesome.
How much did I freeze up? Did my camera freeze up a lot?
It did, but you know what? The video, everything else was fine. So yeah. You know what? That's the best. That's the best part. And yes, Deb, they have Teams capes.
Amazing.
See, and here's the other thing for those of you who have ever asked for swag. First of all, Microsoft, we can give away so little. You know that. Right. We can give away so little, but we want you to have things. So you know what? You can feel free to go get your things, buy them. It's amazing. We'll continue. We'll drop the Sway link another time. It is in this big old chat, but we'll drop it again.
There it is again. There it is again.
And but yeah, any questions about any of the different resources that Jill did share? Because I love that it was so complete. There's so many options for every user under the sun. And Jill, just so you're aware, your screen is still sharing, and Well, I don't know if you care or not. Just wanted to let you know.
Sorry.
You're fine. I mean, I wasn't bothering me. I just didn't want you like pulling something up you didn't want pulled up. Like it just so many options. So whether it's students, young students, older students, different pathways, there's a lot of really great things on there. So share that out. One thing I love to do is put links like that into like my signature, and that way if somebody happens across it, they're like, oh my gosh, wait, everything all in one place. So those, that's another thought or idea. Yeah, any questions for Jill?
I think that it's a little bit overwhelming, right? To think about like, what would I use this for? What would I use this for? What would I use this for? It's less about aligning every single resource that Jill shared to a specific outcome right now than it is about getting to that sway, adding it to your favorites or add it to a collection in your Edge browser. Make sure you just have access to it so that when things pop up, you have something to give people for the right now until you can get to the right thing. So sometimes that's from my background, right? Sometimes people need something right now to kind of focus on, take some first steps until they really can help form their question or their ask a little bit tighter, and then you can help them find the right thing. So these are a really good set of resources that can help you in that.
And I would say Microsofties, if there's something that you said, oh, you know what, Jill should have added this, let me know, because this is a living, breathing document. I can always add a link to a sway. That's easy.
Yeah, that's the best part. I think it was great that Andy's like, people are still using Sway. I still use Sway. Don't worry. And yes, Andy, you can edit Sway.
Oh my gosh.
It really is. It's a surprisingly underused resource. And it can be just easy to put everything in one place.
Sway is the best way to make content external. It is. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So I'm surprised more people don't use it. It's ridiculously easy. You don't have to have any design experience, and you can make content readable on mobile devices and external in 3 seconds.
And immersive readers layered on top of it. So you're getting some accessibility functionality.
Yep.
So offended.
My gosh, too funny. All right, well, I'm going to make an official declaration that we will now end the recording, and we are going to give Heather Cox the gift of 8 minutes on her birthday. Does that